You can watch us live on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in the search box Smooth 981 FM Lagos and you'd find us. Please subscribe to that channel so you can get a prompt whenever we're live. You can also comment on Instagram at Smooth981, on Twitter at Smooth981FM with the hashtag Business Express 981. WhatsApp number for messages 0809 444 0981. Rotus?
Yes, sir. So I'm seeing some comments here. Aliko Dangote. He was part of a stakeholders meeting on peace. This is organized by the National Peace Committee, co-chaired by former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, and Catholic Archbishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Hassan Kuka. So they were talking about peace, they were talking about insecurity, and well, Dangote threw this in. He said, how do you expect a government to function without paying taxes? But you have to pay tax. And he says, you know, they want to increase VAT, people shout. They want to charge the right pricing on petrol products. And some people say, no, it's digging at a label. He says, so where is the money going to come from? So it is a collective responsibility. If you want to be safe, you have to contribute your own quota to be safe. It doesn't come cheap. So the question of security is everybody's business. Even us today, we cannot do any business without security. And that is why the private sector promised to put 100 billion naira towards supporting the police in terms of security. Then continue, says, take the issue of Kagara in Niger State where they kidnapped school children. There were only 8 policemen in a big local government area like Kagara. So these are the issues. So he's, you know, the tax one, that one will rile some people up because, you know, I've repeatedly said that taxes need to go up in Nigeria, but,
yes.
You know.
But the truth is bitter. The truth is bitter. Most of us don't want to hear it, but it's necessary.
Yeah, but you see, people who get upset when I say Nigerian taxes need to go up, they have a right to be upset because it is the government's fault for waiting all this time and delaying. You know, you delay, then they are now hit with a recession in 2016. Yeah, you hit with another recession less than 2 years later with COVID-19. So now you are in a tight spot to where your government revenues are constrained. You have no choice but to raise taxes, but you can't do it. Look, the elections now are less than 2 years. They're not going to raise any taxes. They're afraid because if they do that, there'll be a problem. That is why you're seeing this delay with deregulating the downstream sector and fuel prices, because the estimate is that we're looking at, I think Business Day had a cover story yesterday where they said fuel could go for like 250 naira a liter, or maybe even higher than that. I think Melek Hiari of NNPC said 234. So they've been delaying because they know the consequences. That we yesterday on Personal Finance, my entire topic was buying USD. That there was an article in Nairametrics on how to earn, sorry, not buy USD, how to earn USD, how to make money in dollars while you live in Nigeria. We had a full segment on that yesterday because the average Nigerian is poor. The Naira has been devalued by over 100% over the last 10 years.
Yes.
So, you know, even more than that. So what do you do? So if you think about the plight of Nigerians, when people get upset when I say taxes have to go up, I understand what they're saying. Well, what are we going to do?
Well, you know why people react that way sometimes, Rotus, and you and I can relate to that. It's because what we're paid for work does not measure up to what the value of that of currencies across the country. I mean, across the world rather. Our services, what we get paid for services here in Nigeria cannot match up to what our peers earn in the US, for instance, the UK, for instance. So that exchange rate causes a disparity that most of us don't see. It's almost an invisible disparity that living within Nigeria covers your eyes, you know, too. So you are not able to see those things, except you probably sign up to freelance services like Upwork and the likes that I'm sure you spoke about yesterday on Personal Finance. You know, some of those services. So if you offer freelance services, your eyes will start getting exposed, or you start, you know, seeing things clearer, especially when it comes to how global best practices with those aligned with your similar service or sharing similar services that you do.
Yeah. You're talking about purchasing power parity and
purchasing power. So that way you come from a place of you come from an emotional place when you're reacting to calls for tax increase, because you know how much you earn, you know how much you can afford. So if they add tax or increase tax to that would be a bigger problem.
It is. And see, it's a global thing right now. Biden is trying to increase taxes. Like Biden has this massive $2 trillion spending plan. The way he wants to fund it is by increasing corporate taxes. And what he's done now, he's talking to the global community, the G20 economies, the top 20 economies. They met, their finance ministers and central bankers met yesterday. And they said, we will consider a global minimum tax. So what he wants to do is to raise corporate taxes in America. Any corporations that now want to run away from America and go overseas to another country where there are less taxes, he wants to raise the global minimum tax. So there will be a little small, if no difference between where he wants in America. So the tax conversation is everywhere right now.
Yes.
I mean, in the COVID-19 has hit countries so hard. Rishi Sunak in the UK, where Goke is right now, they are looking at raising corporate taxes in order to pay for all the money they spent helping people with COVID. But see, those countries are helping people. Biden's, even Trump, as much as I didn't like Trump, although I know Fisayo is listening, Trump disbursed money to Americans. Americans were getting checks.
Relief, yes, they were getting relief.
Helicopter money.
Businesses, individuals, helicopter money.
Yes.
Mad.
In the UK, the UK was trying to support UK restaurants. They were telling UK people, go and eat, we'll subsidize the meal. I mean, look at that. They were paying for their food. So those are countries that have money and can actually hardcore subsidize and support people. So when they are raising taxes, you can understand. But here, we haven't, I mean, there are social programs, the conditional CCT, conditional cash transfers. Well,
that's just to a few, Rotus.
Like 5,000 now. How much
are you being patronizing?
No, what I'm saying is
did you receive any?
I didn't get anything. I don't qualify. But I don't want to sound like the Nigerian government has done nothing and not tried.
All right. I feel you.
They've tried, but it's just not enough. I mean, see, when we're talking about iron ore, so there was a tweet about somebody complaining about steel prices going up. Steel prices have gone up because China, in their post-COVID recovery, has been demanding more iron ore, and iron ore makes up about 35-40% of steel. Australia is the biggest producer and exporter of iron ore. Australia exported $120 billion to China in 2020 in iron ore. 120 billion. How many people are in Australia? 25 million. You can fit Australia in maybe Lagos plus Oyo State. Made $120 billion is 4 times our budget. So and Nigeria, we have iron ore here. We've got mineral deposits. Instead of Nigeria benefiting from China's extra demand of iron ore, we are feeling the pressure because we are imports dependent, and so. Steel prices, Ajaokuta steel doesn't work. All these other steel. So the economy has to be refurbished, rebranded, so we take advantage of making money from exports and not have to resort to tax increases and borrowing more. See, borrowing even that there's another thing I want to talk about today. The Debt Management Office, the DMO. Said they're going to go to the Eurobond market now. That patient, so Nihal, the Director General of the Debt Management, she was talking to Reuters and said they're getting some advisors. They want to go back and borrow more money. That's what Nigeria just keeps doing.
You remember the last, I don't know if it's the last, anyway, there was a call by Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala recently saying that Nigeria needs to really pay attention to infrastructural development, and this one beyond just policy talk, beyond just conversations, proactive steps to make sure that they show up infrastructural developments in the country so that this can happen, so we can have a competitive advantage, especially in even AFCTA. First of all, our trade agreements that we've signed, what do we have to sell? And it shouldn't be on a small scale. It should be, like you said, with the example of Australia, which is apt, it should be on a larger scale where we're competing. Nigeria is blessed with so many mineral resources, yet we have fewer natural disasters. Do we even have any natural disaster that we can talk about?
We don't now. We don't. We are blessed. We should take. But the thing is, look, it takes a lot of money to develop. You have to dig into the mines. You have to. See, Australia is a perfect example. Rio Tinto. Brazil is another example. Brazil is the second or third largest exporter of iron ore. It's Australia, Brazil, China, India, and Russia. I think those are the top 5. Nigeria is 12th or 13th place when it comes to iron ore, but we're still in the top 20. So we need to be making lots of money from it. But so much money has been squandered and wasted. It's very capital intensive to develop your mines and extract iron ore and export, but the money has to be spent. We're just in a bad situation, and it's just bad timing. It's just
we need to wake up and stop eating our future. Really invest. Exactly. Is the way to go. D from Alausa sent in this message on WhatsApp, says put more emphasis on use of tax revenues than increasing taxes. It's not the size of your salary, but what you do with what you have. You're missing the point. Well, D,
he makes a good point.
He makes a good point, but we actually addressed that as well. Frank says, see who's talking about taxes when his company, Cement or Sugar, have been enjoying pioneer status for years now. Yet he's still applying to get more. Talking about optimal pricing in cement prices and competitively determined in Nigeria. Is he trying to play the devil's advocate in fuel price because his refinery is about to come on stream? Will he boldly say he accesses FX at a market determined rate? Next, please.
Dangote has no moral obligation.
He has no moral obligation to advocate for tax increases and market determined prices.
I didn't want to say it. I knew somebody would send a message and say that.
Of course, they will come for him. Faisal says, hey, Mr. Baker. No, not Mr. Baker. Thank you so much. This is Valentine and Rotus. The grudge is not against raising taxes. Please, what's your name? Add your names to your messages. Orisa says the grudge is not against raising taxes, but overtaxing the already taxed. There's a higher percentage not within the tax net. And also the tax at the end of the day is used to fund recurrent expenditures and corruption. Where's the data from the government telling us what they did with the extra 2.5%? Pay for Buhari trip abroad, I guess. But that's really
strong message.
Accountability, yes. Since they raised the tax from 5% to 7.5%, what's been the difference? What impact, have we realized from the difference? Henry Emmanuel says the thing with Dangote talking about paying taxes is that his firms are notorious at organizing their business activities to take advantage of the loopholes in the existing tax system and actively lobby for more loopholes. If anyone wants to talk about paying taxes in Nigeria, it should not be Dangote. Yemi Richard says you can't tax your way to prosperity. Tax is an income and the people are poor. Nevertheless, the government should start with requiring tax clearance and tax returns from political office holders. That way, the obligation will trickle down. That's true. Karim from Ibadan says, what's truth, Rotus? We don't trust the government on anything. What have they done with all the revenues generated before now? Have they been used or spent judiciously? What taxes? Nigerian government are not being sincere. Corruption everywhere. Emma King says, Rotus, the reason we get upset when you call for increase in tax is because the little one we are paying at the moment, we don't see the effect in the lives of the people in terms of good roads and infrastructure. And then there lies the problem. Lola from Aja says, we'll pay taxes when the government becomes more trustworthy. There's so much wastage and corruption in this country. Lots of messages. Isiaka from Butemeta says, Rotus, Nigerian citizens pay one of the highest indirect tax payments in the world. You sink your borehole for water, you pay for health, education, and even security. I'm not usually impressed by this low tax narrative. And Jonah says from Isolo, good morning, guys. Nigerians will be more persuaded to pay taxes if they see the authorities begin to put those the ones they paid to practical use. There's currently little value for all the taxes paid. And Alex here says, good morning, Smith family. Didn't North Korea just say that they should sell off Nigeria and Ghana? Alex, where did you read this, please? Bimbo says, did you say we don't have natural disasters? Our leaders and they are natural disasters. No, I can't. I'm done. My goodness, my stomach. So, Rotus, thanks, man.
Solid message. Valentine, I have to shout out our listeners. I have to shout them out.
I have 15 more messages I haven't gone through.
Are you serious? Guys, it's all that solid, all those messages. No. Our listeners are they are analysts as well. Fantastic messages from everybody.
Yes, please. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Follow the show. If you've missed any part of this conversation, please go to YouTube and type Smooth 981 FM Lagos to watch.